Bulk number 116 is Lote Tuqiri. Lote played 167 NRL games with three clubs, the Brisbane Broncos, South Sydney and the Wests Tigers. Lote played 6 Origin matches for Queensland and 9 tests for the Kangaroos. He also captained Fiji at the 2000 World Cup. In the 2002 Origin series, Lote scored a try in all 3 games. In 2010, Lote Tuqiri became the first player to represent Australia before and after a stint in rugby union. Lote is a 2-time premiership winner with the Brisbane Broncos in 2000 and South Sydney in 2014. Well, Lote, thanks very much for your time. What does it mean to you as we sit here reflecting on your career to be a Fog?
Well, it's amazing. Growing up in Queensland and being part of that maroon jersey, it's probably one of the things that probably drew me to rugby league, the passion around state of origin footy. Coming here when I was a 3-year-old and seeing the likes of Mal, those legends don that jersey and the passion that they played with for the state was amazing. It's probably one of the highlights, to be fair. I don't know whether I did too much in my career, but donning that Queensland jersey is definitely right up there. I'm not just saying this because we're on a Fogs podcast, but I think you ask a lot of guys, putting that Queensland jersey on is pretty special.
Well, let's try and work out how you got there, because you were born, as you mentioned, in Fiji, moved to Brisbane,
Yep.
Grew up in Sunnybank. Why did the family move from Fiji to Queensland?
So we moved to Australia. My father came over to play rugby union and get a better life for us as a family. His brother, my namesake, was already here playing for a club. He'd gotten over, and then he subsequently tried to get his brother over, my dad. Played at the GPS club, which is just down the road here at Ashgrove, down Waterworks Road, and that's how we came over. And then, moved, as I said earlier, into West End, stayed with my uncle and everything else. Then we moved out to Logan, and then went to Sunnybank State High School, a lot of schools in between, Harrisfield State School, which is down there. Where else did I go? Southside Christian College, which is now, I don't know what it's called now. It's the Brisbane Christian College, I think, down at Salisbury. And then finished up at Sunnybank High, finished year 12 there.
So what was it like growing up as a young boy that's come over from Fiji with a
Yeah,
Fijian heritage?
It was weird. There weren't too many of us back then, in the sense that, like, even in school, I found it hard at times to communicate at different times, because you're speaking Fijian at home and then you go into school and speaking English. So I found that pretty tough to start with, but got used to it. The colour of my skin back then was a bit different. Not now. There's a lot of, it's very multicultural in Queensland and Brisbane in particular now, which is really good. I had a pretty good upbringing. Everyone sort of stuck together down at Logan, all the guys that were, and there's a lot of big Pacific Island community down there, and that's just grown down there. So, and had a really good Fijian community in Brisbane and in Queensland as well, which fostered that love of rugby league, rugby union, supporting Queensland, and supporting your teams.
You're a late starter, though. You didn't funnily enough, a lot of the Fogs we've spoken to were late starters in rugby league. They did other things before they played rugby league. Why did you take until 15 to start playing with South Sunnybank?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to. Well, I didn't think I was allowed to anyway. We went to church pretty much every weekend, every Sunday. I think there was church during the week as well. Sunday there was 2 services. So I didn't even ask. And to be fair, we probably couldn't afford it back then, so I didn't even ask. Didn't want to put a strain on anyone. And then I only sort of just played because we're playing at school with a bunch of mates. I obviously knew how to play. Always played in the car park at church with all the other Fijian boys. And then they said, mate, we need some players to come down to play with us. Why didn't you come down? I said, yeah, mate, I'd love it if I could play, but there's no way I'm going to play. I've got I've got a few responsibilities around. That's what I thought anyway. If I am going to play, one of you blokes are going to have to ask my parents. So I ended up giving them a home phone number back in the day, one that was on the wall. There's no one has a home phone these days. I think it rang. I don't even know where I was. I think I went and hid. But they talked him round. I don't know how. I was like, wow. If I need anything done, I'll just ask my mates.
And you started as a front rower?
I started as a front rower, gangly front rower. Stayed there during the year. Trained really hard for a 15-year-old team back then. We just got flogged. But we, stood us in good stead. And learnt the game and learnt what it was to be a good teammate and, play together. We had a really good coach as well.
When did it get serious then? When did you start realising that you had above average ability, and when did people start to notice that?
Yeah, well, at the end of that 15s, we won the comp and the team sort of disbanded because a lot of, we did what we did and I had sort of nowhere to go. I was obviously living in Woodridge and I'd be catching the train at South Sunnybank, which is only 4 or 5 stations anyway. But we'd moved up and then it was 16 and then I had to go to I had to find a team. I knew team was there, went to Brothers St Paul's, which is, now South Logan, Logan Brothers.
Yep.
So there's obviously a few good players out of there.
One or two.
And it was walking distance from home. So it was nice and easy when they knew a few of the boys, played down there, and started getting a bit of interest at the end of that year in the 16s.
Well, how'd you get to the Broncos?
How did I get to the Broncos? I think we were playing a semi-final in the Div 1 team out at Wynnum. And I think I played all right. And good old Cyril Connell, God bless him. He was there, along with Phil Hall. So Phil, I think initially had a chat after the game, and then Cyril called us up the next day, giving him Phil the number and everything else, and it sort of started from there. For me it was like, wow, watching, the Brisbane Broncos. They were huge in Brisbane, and seeing those dreams and possibilities in my head were pretty cool back then. I thought this was a path I could take, not knowing there's a million guys trying to do the same thing.
Mm. So 1999 was, I suppose, a massive turning point in your life when you started playing in the NRL. What was that step up like, and what were your memories of making your NRL debut?
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was pretty huge. I was lucky to go into a system where I had so many. The guys were legends. Going into a system with Kevy and Alfie still playing, you had all those legends still there, probably in the twilight of their careers, but showing me how to be a professional and training hard, and having a great coach in Wayne as well. Made my debut in '99 against the Sharks at ANZ Stadium, which is where we're going to have the Olympics apparently, over there at Nathan Cusack, they call it these days. Yep. I don't know. I don't know what round it was, but we played the Sharks, and my vivid memory of it was it being so fast compared to what I'd been used to, what I'd played. Looking up at the clock, thinking, there's only about 10 minutes to go in the half. Looked up, we'd only gone for 10 minutes. So all that nervous energy was happening, and I was just doing everything in 100 miles an hour, which you do it when you debut, you just don't want to get anything wrong, right? And I expended a lot of that energy pretty early. And then the next year you win a premiership. I mean, it was amazing. Whirlwind. Great club again. We had the nucleus there of really a good team. They won it. The boys won it in '98. I was at the club at a junior, seeing these guys do it. '99 was pretty disappointing. Start to the year, We ended up winning, back-to-back games for a while and got in the finals. But 2000, amazing. Started the year, I can't remember how the year went and ins and outs of it, but we had a great team. I think I started pretty at the start of the year. Michael Hancock was still there, another great fog, and he was great about me sort of stepping in and showing me the ropes, and I thought he was great. He's still part of the Broncos these days. And then, 2000 we win, part of a great team. But you're right, mate. I probably didn't realise how special it was at the time. Didn't appreciate it as much as I did probably later in my career. But it was a whirlwind. Second year in, you win a comp, on the verge of sort of doing things, not knowing, and also playing for Fiji that year and captaining the Fiji Bati in 2000 World Cup. But 2000 was a great year. I probably matured mentally and physically that year into thinking I could actually do something in this game. I could actually be a fair player, given the confidence I had being on the end of that back line and what a great team I was in, gave me the confidence to sort of go out there and back myself.
Well, then it stepped up a level in 2001 where you were selected to play Origin for the first time. I think one of 10 debutants.
Amazing night. Amazing night. I often think about it. Every now and again you see highlights of different games. And my first touch in 2001. It was a whirlwind. There's so many different memories, just being selected and everything else. But my main thing about my debut and playing for Queensland in 2001 was the first touch of the game. Nervous. I sort of didn't want to get involved, but I did. One of the main things for me about when I play in games, I want to get an early touch on the ball, get myself in the game, so I'm not expending that nervous energy too late and I'm not wasting it. So I'm waiting. I don't get a chance to get in. Breckamorley kicks to the bottom left corner for us, across the road here, running north. And Lockie gets it on a full. I think I get back with him. Lockie goes open, shows open, comes back down the short side. We get a 3-on-2. And Lockie, so there's Lockie, myself, Darren Smith was the centre that day. He did a great job to get back. Had he not gotten back, I don't get through that gap. Lockie shows, just puts me through a beautiful gap. I go run about 30, 40 metres. The crowd goes up. And, this is what you sort of remember after. And then I actually tried to goose step the fullback. I think it was Mark Hughes at the time. But I stumbled, which has probably helped me get him off balance. Then I step back in, draw two players, pass back in Lockie. Lockie goes under the post or close to. Crowd roars. We're on. This is the start of my Origin career. Amazing atmosphere, amazing memory. We go on to put 30 or 40 points on New South Wales. I think now, it's one of my favourite memories of playing anywhere. And I've played a few places, but that is really special.
Well, how would you like to be the owner of one of these? A Fogs Authentic Game Ball signed by Wally Lewis at the 2023 Wally Lewis medalist Reuben Cotter. Now, all you have to do is subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. And each week, gentlemen, we'll be giving away one of these footballs to one of the viewers of the Fogs Queenslander podcast. Well done.
Well, it's good to be able to hand them on to the general public who like it, as long as we don't get blamed for breaking one of Mum's windows when they're kicking it around the backyard or tossing it around.
But this will be framed in a nice
Reuben Cotter's name. Wow.
Do you know how to subscribe and like and do all that, Gilly? No?
Oh. We can help you, mate. We can help you.
Help me out, fellas.
His two daughters can help you out.
So we have one of these to give away each week until stocks run out, until Wally gets sick and tired of signing them and Reuben Cotter disappears. But just subscribe to our channel, Fox Queenslander Podcast. Write a comment below and click that like button. Everyone goes into the draw, and we've got one of these to give away each week. What about when you found out you were going to play for Queensland for the first time? You remember where you were, what emotions ran through? And
Yeah, I don't. To be fair, it's all a bit of a blur. I reckon I was. I think I was actually at church, and Wayne called me and said, "Mate, pack your bags. We're going to go to camp tomorrow night." I knew I was close because in 2000, unfortunately, we got pumped. Remember when that was the whole
hand grenade
game where they pumped us by about 50 points, I think. I didn't know whether I was going to get picked or not, but I'd been playing all right. And I've been playing with all these guys, combinations and everything else. I wasn't expecting it, but to get that call and to be told you're going to be part of this Queensland team, mate, I just swelled up. I thought about everything around my family and how much we supported Queensland, being allowed to stay up and watch the footy, watching the King take on New South Wales by himself. That game, I think it was at the Sydney Football Stadium where they all got injured. I think Bobby Lennon broke his... Alf broke his leg.
Batty got hurt.
Yeah, the King. That was a big game for me, I remember. Watching that and thinking, wow, I'm about to don the same jerseys these guys did, and filled with immense pride and everything else. It was amazing.
So then in 2001, you scored a try in every match of the series, which is a rare achievement. So you've won a premiership in 2000. You started representing Queensland in 2001 and 02. You've played 6 matches. You're at the Broncos. International Rugby League is there as well. And you decided to step away and play rugby. What led to that, and how difficult a decision was that?
Yeah,
or was it difficult?
No, it was really difficult. Like, we were on a roll at the Bronx. We were going places. You know, after 2000, winning 2001 and 2, I think we just missed out. I think we made both prelims. And we had a squad that was going forward. You know, there was a good young nucleus in the club. And they gave me a start, and I didn't know anything else. Part of the thing about going across was I'd done a fair bit in rugby league. Had I not achieved a premiership, state of origin, playing for Australia, playing for Fiji in a World Cup, I don't think I would have thought about it as much. I wouldn't have thought about it. I would have had things to tick off. But I ticked a few of those things off by 22, 23, I think it was, when I jumped ship. And Wendell had gone over the year before, so he was a bit of a crash test dummy for me to see how he'd go. And by that time, he'd put a Wallaby jersey on, and he was playing in the Wallaby. So I thought, well, I'm probably a little bit more skilled than Dell. He's more of a front door man. He bashes it down where I'm sort of a back door. I can bash down if I want to, but I'm sort of more try to play a bit of footy and a bit of a step and everything else. So I thought, 2003 World Cup, it's in Australia, and to be fair, mate, they were offering a lot of money. That was a big carrot as well. I'm not going to lie. A lot of money to go across. I'd done a fair bit in the game. Wendell had gone over. And my father and my family had played a lot of rugby union as well. So at some point in my career, I did think I'd jump. I didn't know when. I'd always wanted to give it a go, and that was the opportune time.
Well, it was fairly successful. You played nearly 70 tests. You played at World Cups, etc. Was it the fact that you had achieved what you wanted to achieve in rugby that I want to finish my career in league, or why did you then decide to come back and play for the Tigers?
Yeah, there was a fair bit. I don't know if there was a fair bit left on the field. I wanted, I could have stayed in the UK as well, but I thought there was some unfinished business in Australia. I didn't think the use by date had expired on me in the terms of what I could do, and I wanted to test myself in a great competition. I'm not belittling that comp over there, but it was cold, and everything else. I could have stayed there easily. It was a great team, great squad at the Leicester Tigers. But I thought, there was a thing itching away at me thinking, this is the best comp in the world. I want to still test myself here. The Tigers were coming hard. I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. And came back in 2010 and nearly got there in 10 and 11.
Was it hard to reacclimatise when you came back?
No, because I was thrown into the fire, into the furnace. Pretty much straight away. I signed. I played my last game on a Saturday in England. I'm on a plane on Monday, I think, to get out of there, get back on a Wednesday. I think I get off the plane and go straight to a session with the Tigers just to say hello. And everything else. Because this is a week of the first game.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, I didn't know whether I was going to play or not. Shinji said, mate, if you want to play, we'll just see how you feel. Come meet the boys, this, that and the other. So it didn't really give me a chance to think about it. How got that chance to think about another few weeks, I'll be like a little bit more scared. But yeah, Thursday, I think they have off. Friday back at training, I did ball work or whatever. And it was a Monday night footy game back then. When I play against the Manly Seagulls on a Monday night at the Sydney Football Stadium. And I scored my first touch of the footy. It was amazing. And probably like my state of origin debut, I was pretty nervous. So I was hesitant about getting in and out, about trying to get my hands on the footy. We do a short side play of Chris Lawrence, Robbie Farah off the back of the scrum. He gets it in one, as I juggle, I put it down. That eased the nerves amazingly well, and then I sort of got back in and went as the year progressed, and get to a prelim, which we lose, but a great year that first year at the Tigers.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the disappointments for you in your career, would it be fair to say that broken arm that seemed to just, it didn't heal and caused all sorts of problems? Is that one of the most difficult times in your career?
Yeah, it was. It sort of started a bit of a waterfall of injuries after. I never got injured pretty much till before then. It happened against the Raiders in 2011 early. And it got infected, it didn't heal properly, it just getting pushed back. And it was just, I'd never had to come back from injury or a big injury like that before. It sort of stymied that year a little bit. We get to the finals again, but it just sort of, when you're not playing, like for so long, you've been a part of the group. Now I'm in the injured crew. I never had to deal with that. You're sort of training in isolation with another 3 or 4 blokes. You're sort of just doing that. You're training at different times. Yes, you're part of the squad, but it's a bit weird. It sort of can get on you. I really feel sorry for blokes who've got to do it, 2 or 3 years. They're like young Tommy Gilbert at the moment.
Back-to-back years.
He's going back-to-back years with major injuries. And I think the game's done well to deal with the mental aspects of that, and there's still a bit to go, but I think we're much more aware of how that can hinder performances and confidence and everything else. So, not to say my confidence was down, but I just wasn't in there.
The irony of that, though, Lottie, is that potentially, if you hadn't suffered that injury and you hadn't had those struggles, you may not have ended up at South in 2014. You
100%.
You end up at South,
Yep.
And you win another premiership.
I end up at South, win another premiership.
The most famous club in the world, almost,
right?
And they were desperate, and you won the drought-breaking premiership with the Rabbitohs.
Unbelievable story. Get there. I knew they were going places, those boys. They'd made, 2 years before that, they'd made the prelims. I'd spoken to Michael Maguire around, maybe coming over at the end of the 2013 season with the Tigers, because I was making my way back. And I did like probably earlier, I didn't want to finish on how I'd finished with the Tigers. I was injured, and every time I came back, a game or two later, I'd get injured again. I just didn't want to finish that way, and I thought, these guys might give me a chance to, show what I've got. And I was old. I was 34 at the time, and luckily, was in the start of the year, got dropped, came back to play in a grand final later in the year, played the last 5 or 6 rounds or whatever it was, and then, to play in that game and to win premierships at 2 amazing clubs, probably 2 of the most famous clubs in Australia.
And different because one's young
Yeah.
and one's a foundation club. I would imagine that the reaction at both was different as well. The
Yeah.
feeling at South Sydney would have been a little bit different to the feeling at the Broncos.
Yeah, totally. It was probably at Brisbane when we won. It was more of a, well, you should have won. Whereas at South, there's long-suffering fans, and me mentally, I was totally in a different space as well, given my injuries and where I'd been in my career before then, and what I had to, what you sacrifice. As I alluded to earlier, I'd got a hell of a lot in a career pretty early, and I didn't really appreciate it as much as I did as the 2014. Because I'd, got injuries. I'd been in and out of the team. I was there. I had to play a different role. I wasn't so much a star anymore, as part of more so being part of the team and trying to gel this team together and get through the setbacks of those sort of mental hurdles that they had from the previous years. And it all combined in 2014 to be a premiership year. And I feel old. It's 10-year
10 years,
anniversary
yeah,
this year. So really thankful that Madge gave me the call, and thankful of the squad and players that we had at Souths to help me finish my career with a grand final win.
The only player in the history of the game to have represented Australia at rugby league, go and represent Australia at rugby union, and come back to rugby league and represent Australia again.
Yeah.
No one has ever done that in the game before. What does that mean to you, that you're able to do that?
It's pretty cool. Well, you don't think about it too much, but I probably, I'll tell my boys that I haven't spoken to them too much about it. But if they get a bit lippy, I'll sort of chip them with I'm the only bloke that's done this, boys. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was really lucky to have done that. Being part of teams that helped me do that. The 2010, when I came back in that Tigers team, I reckon I have a few, regrets probably around the 2010-11 team with the Tigers. I think we could have done something really special, given the style of footy we played, and the way we, the camaraderie and the team spirit we had in the team. I reckon we could have done something special. It wasn't to be, but I did get they helped me get a kangaroo jersey back then, and really thankful of that.
Now, an unfair question, I know it is, because it's like asking you who your favourite kid is, but did you have a favourite player that you'd just loved playing with, or admired, or just thought, wow, how lucky am I to be playing alongside this bloke?
Yeah, when you finish your footy, you think about it a little bit more than you do playing. I probably didn't not respect, but you look at guys like, say, a Darren Lockyer. He's one guy that, because I played week in, week out with him, he's amazing. But you don't really appreciate him for as good as he was. Because I played with him, I played with Lockyer as a fullback. I thought he was a great fullback.
One of the best ever.
One of the best ever. And then if I'm picking my best teams, I'll pick Lockyer at fullback rather than him at 6, whereas a lot of other people will pick him as a 5'8". I thought he was a great fullback. And I think, he'd be one. There's a few. I'd have to say Andrew Johns was amazing as well, playing outside of him. He was always thinking, jinking. There's 2.
Is there someone you didn't play with that you would love to have played with in any era?
Yeah, in any era. I would have loved, as I said, my favourite players growing up were Mal Meninga and Wally Lewis in that Queensland jersey. If I got the chance to go back in time, it'd be to probably put on a Queensland jersey in one of those 90s games or late 80s games with Mao and the King, and probably being in awe of them. Yeah.
So what are you doing now?
So I'm working in a bit of labour hire for Agri-Labour Australia, helping out in the PALM scheme with the Pacific Islanders coming over here to work in the agricultural sector, and we've just had a influencer marketing agency called Huzu, which was started up in 2014, which is going pretty well, and just looking after the kids, mate.
Keep them busy.
Keep them busy.
So as we sit here now, Lottie, and we've discussed your career, you look back and that time going down to South Sunnybank as a 15-year-old starting in the front row.
Yeah.
You've won 2 premierships with 2 of the most famous clubs in the world. You've represented your state and country in rugby league and rugby union. How do you look back on your career?
I've got pride. I have pride around my career. How do I look back? I look back on it with pride. I smile. Sometimes get out when you're moving house, you see these jerseys, and some jerseys that you're like, wow. You think about times what you played in these games. A lot of pride and a lot of I'm grateful for the teams I played in. They made me as good as I could be, and they got me to places where I never would have dreamt of. So pride, and grateful. And
finally, it goes pretty quickly. So what advice would you give to some young bloke who might be heading off to South Sunnybank for training tonight ahead of their career?
Just keep persevering. You're going to have knocks. You might not get picked. You might not get picked in a rep team that you thought you should have been in. But if you just keep turning up, doing your job, being a good team member, you will definitely get seen. When the time comes for you to shine, put your best foot forward, do your job right, and keep persevering.
Lote Tuqiri, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Fogs Queenslander podcast. If there's a fog you want to hear from, leave a comment to let us know. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos.